Landscapes shift and ecosystems move. The whole lively world we inhabit is in flux more rapidly now than perhaps ever. Attuning ourselves to these changes is deeply important work for ecological restoration and climate adaptation alike. New research into the changes happening around us, and the places that aren't as susceptible to change, reveals important lessons about how restoration practice continues to evolve in light of climate change. Specifically, my new report looks into stepping stone refugia, pockets of climate stability that help species track the habitats they need and adjust their ranges as the wider climate changes. Refugia are places where a species' past and future converge. They form out of complex interactions amongst climate, species traits, geology, and other earthly factors. As some highly adaptive places experience turnover, these laggards provide time and space to certain species that are trying to keep up with the changes around them. In a word, refuge. At the same time, species are trying to make their own adjustments to track their preferred climates. The world is rapidly changing around them, and while they shift their ranges accordingly, holdout habitats can help them gain a foothold. The new report considers 10 birds of conservation concern in the southern New England region, consisting of southeastern Massachusetts and all of Rhode Island. It maps their habitats, current and as projected for 2080, and it evaluates how important those habitats are within the range of each species. The habitats that have shifted by 2080 are indicative of range change, whereas those that haven't are likely refugia. The report calculates the degree to which the region is capable of providing each species with refuge, and it identifies the places where restorations could improve that capacity. These details are all quantified, ranked, and made spatially explicit. The study combines some of the most fine-grained geospatial data with two of the best landscape ecology models available, the Designing Sustainable Landscapes project at UMass Amherst, and the Survival by Degrees research by the National Audubon Society. Designing Sustainable Landscapes provided the report with analysis of ecological integrity, or the condition of various habitats, and also how they will be impacted by climate change and other forces. Survival by Degrees informed the report with data on species ranges and how habitats are expected to shift by the end of the century. The findings suggest that sizable changes are underway. Two of the region's most charismatic species are indicative, the saltmarsh sparrow and the piping plover. Both inhabit the coastal ecosystems that are so prized within the region, and both rank at the top of the charts for expected changes. Differences can be seen within the seasonal populations of each species. As this table describes, the saltmarsh sparrow depends on coastal habitats that are concentrated in southern New England. Regardless of seasonal population, that species will increasingly find refugial habitats in the region. Although these habitats are available, during the breeding season, the population will concentrate in other locales. The sparrow's precarious nests, built on the razor-thin margin of low tidal marshes, will more often be constructed to the north of their current range. Refugial habitats in the southern New England region will instead be useful to the sparrow during the non-breeding season. Comparatively, the region provides the saltmarsh sparrow with an average number of refugial sites. The plover, meanwhile, is expected to undergo changes that are orders of magnitude higher than any other species studied. Given their concentration in the region and the threats to their habitats, these results suggest that the plover will be of increasing conservation concern in the coming decades. Suitable breeding habitats will be heavily impacted, limiting the plover's presence in the region. On the other hand, non-breeding habitats within refugia will become much more available, and the population is expected to surge. The wide availability of refugial habitats during the non-breeding season gives the region a very high capacity for providing the plover with seasonal refuge. Of course, climate isn't the only issue facing these species and the others studied. Rising sea levels and disturbance from human development are both threats that dramatically minimize these birds' potentials. With an eye to future restoration priorities, this report incorporates these and other factors to identify sites where interventions can help. The supports we can offer vary by species and habitat, but the aim is the same: to increase the ecological integrity of degraded sites. This simplified illustration circles the location of restoration candidate piping plover refugia, while the arrows indicate the direction and magnitude of climate-forced range change for each seasonal population. The underlying map is not specific to the plover, but shows results for all 10 bird species studied. It shows where habitats are more resistant to change. Darker blue indicates habitats that provide a higher degree of refuge to one or more species by 2080. Overall, the climate change refugia that southern New England affords these species were found to be important compared with other areas within each species range. At the same time, all species will experience major changes in the region's capacity to support them. This graphic shows the changes for each seasonal population. Breeding populations are on the left, non-breeding on the right. The lists are ordered by how much climate change will affect each species range. Birds next to a gray bar will be better supported in the region and expand the range, while those next to a black bar will lose out. This graphic also describes how valuable the southern New England region will be to each species compared with the rest of its range. The size of a bird indicates how concentrated the species will become within the region. A larger bird indicates that the southern New England region will become especially valuable to that species. Finally, birds facing to the left in this graphic are on their way somewhere else. Birds facing to the right are coming into the region. This part of the graphic reveals some surprising and seemingly contradictory lessons. We've already seen one example in the saltmarsh sparrow. That bird's numbers will increase within the region, yet become more concentrated elsewhere. Its range is expanding, represented by the gray bar, but other regions will be better suited to it than the southern New England region, represented by the bird facing left. The graphic reveals the same to be true for the breeding population of the snowy egret. It tells the opposite story for the non-breeding prairie warbler. That bird is prioritizing the SNEP region over others even as its conditions worsen. These birds defy the trend. They show us that the effects of climate change are unevenly distributed. Other areas don't change at the same rate or to the same degree as southeast New England. Given the varying degrees of change in the patchy, spread-out arrangement of refugia described previously, stepping stones will be important whether the species are coming or going. The implications are substantial. We have a choice to make about whether and how to support species as they adapt to a climate-changed world. There might be places we want to make a stand against rising sea levels to help a bird like the saltmarsh sparrow make its transition. In others, it might be more advantageous to facilitate the landscape's response to climate change, letting it inform us about what the future of that site looks like. These determinations can be made within the scope of conservation and restoration planning, and the model underlying this report can help inform decisions. The report includes analyses of ecological functions, environmental stressors, and wildlife communities. With the right inputs, the model can be run to forecast the effects of refugia on any species range change. Throughout his career, the naturalist Barry Lopez often suggested that landscapes are deeper and more subtle than we can know, and his advice is good to heed in this context. The study of refugia opens up a new world of possibilities. These safe harbors are like anything in a world in flux, contingent, relative, and temporary, and these characteristics set the stage for a new landscape of ecological restoration. As we translate from the lived experience of plants and animals into science, then into policy, we inevitably simplify and lose some of those idiosyncrasies. Restoring and enhancing refugia offer the opportunity to layer some hope and prospect on top of future landscapes, and following Lopez, to maintain their range and variety. Valued species and habitats are on the move, with some refugial habitats transforming more slowly than their neighbors. We have the opportunity to enhance the prospects of survival, and maybe even of living well on a damaged planet.